Listen, we live in a world that kneels to predators and applauds tyrants, where handshakes replace handcuffs and crowns, medals, and market shares get handed to men who should be on trial.
Donald Trump walks free and somehow gets reelected. A man who bragged about grabbing and kissing women without consent is now saluted by kings.
And Prince Andrew? Epstein's conviction was 2008, and in 2010, Andrew still went to see him, on camera, after the world knew who Epstein was. It took a decade of headlines before the palace pulled titles and slammed the public duties door. The silence was fast, but the consequences were slow.
And while the royals play footman to predators, Elon Musk, a billionaire born in South Africa during the apartheid regime, gets $1 trillion payday from Tesla.
The same Elon Musk appearing on stage, making a gesture widely interpreted as a Nazi salute, platforming hate-linked accounts, and gutting humanitarian programs when he briefly led the Department of Government Efficiency.
When he led Doge, he oversaw systems handling massive government data sets, and critics warned his role created massive conflicts of interest, giving him access to data on competitors and agencies that regulate his own companies.
He slashed headcount, centralized control, and called the chaos efficiency. Then he bragged Trump wouldn't be in power without him.
White supremacy doesn't hide anymore. It headlines tech conferences and cashes government checks.
And halfway across the world, a crown prince who a CIA report assessed he'd likely approved the operation to a journalist's murder is back on the red carpet circuit, hosting golf tournaments, buying influence, and now shaking hands in the White House.
We don't arrest them. We reward them. Because power isn't just corrupt, it protects its own.
Let's start with King Charles, the same man who says he stands for duty, service, and decency. He rolled out a red carpet to welcome who? Donald Trump, a man named in Epstein's file, a man who bragged on camera about sexual misconduct.
The royal family hosted Trump not once, but twice, the only U.S. president ever granted a second state visit. Some say it was diplomacy, others call it ceremony. But let's be honest, it looked a lot more like an endorsement of corruption than an act of protocol.
That's right. Trump's name appears in the Epstein files, and he even admitted that they were friends. He's a great guy, he said.
When Epstein was arrested again, Trump's sympathy wasn't for the victims, it was for Ghislaine Maxwell. He told reporters, "I wish her well." And the man who once bragged about grabbing women, walking in on Miss Universe contestants, and kissing women without consent, that man got horse-drawn carriages, gold-plated dinnerware, and a royal parade.
Charles didn't just host Trump, he staged it. Extra parades, a larger honor guard, a state banquet at Windsor where Catherine, Princess of Wales, was seated beside an accused predator and a man a jury found liable for sexual abuse.
A royal historian called it a made-for-television state visit for a made-for-television president. Translation? They knew exactly what he was, they just didn't care.
Because image matters more than integrity. The monarchy wanted its glossy moment on TV, and Trump wanted to feel like a king.
Congratulations! You both got what you wanted.
And don't tell me the palace didn't know what they were doing. This is the same royal family who remained silent when Prince Andrew faced accusations over his links to Jeffrey Epstein, who is named in court documents by Virginia Giuffre as one of her abusers.
Come on, these people track every handshake, every hemline, every cough at dinner. You think they didn't know?
Huh. But when it's one of their own, suddenly they had no idea. Unless it's a strong, independent woman of color, right? Then they smear her faster than a tabloid headline. Yes, I'm talking about Meghan here.
And then Trump, Epstein's friend and former party partner, had the nerve to say he felt bad for the family. Not for the victims, not for the girls Epstein trafficked, but Andrew.
You can't make this stuff up. A U.S. president sympathizing with a disgraced royal, both men entangled with the same convicted predator. And what does the world do? It shrugs.
Remember when Trump said, "They let you do anything when you're famous"? Well, that wasn't a rumor. It was a confession.
And yet, Charles treats him like a statesman. This isn't diplomacy, it's decay. The same moral blindness that let Prince Andrew hide behind palace walls while the stench of privilege filled the air.
You know, some observers might question if that royal visit was more about strengthening ties or about keeping certain files sealed.
Well, then there's Elon Musk, a billionaire born in South Africa during the apartheid regime. He didn't rise from hardship, he rose from emeralds. His father, Errol Musk, claimed to have been involved in an unofficial emerald trading operation in Zambia during the 1980s, South Africa during apartheid, the same regime that jailed Nelson Mandela and built its wealth on racial segregation. That's the soil Musk grew up on, and he spent his adult life pretending that privilege never existed.
And today, he's not just the richest man alive, he's the best paid CEO in history. Last week, Tesla shareholders approved a pay package worth nearly $1 trillion. $1 trillion! That's the combined market value of Microsoft, Google, and Meta.
And for a man who claims to champion free speech, he sure spends a lot of time silencing critics and boosting hate. He brought hate-linked influencers back on Twitter, nodded along with anti-Semitic conspiracies, and let his own AI flirt with Holocaust denial and then called it a glitch.
This is the same guy who once called a rescue diver in Thailand the man who helped save 12 trapped schoolboys a pedo because the diver refused to use Musk's experimental mini-submarine. That's when I knew there was something wrong with this guy.
Yet there was no apology, no accountability, just another tantrum from a billionaire who thinks human life is a marketing campaign.
He's fired employees for unionizing, mocked people with disabilities, and bragged about gutting humanitarian programs under the banner of efficiency. He calls it innovation. The rest of us call it what it is: cruelty wrapped in Wi-Fi.
And governments still line up to hand him money. NASA, the Pentagon, the EU, everyone wants a piece of the Musk machine, even as he does his salutes on stage and declares that Trump owes him for his power.
White supremacy doesn't hide in the shadows anymore. It drives Teslas, launches satellites, and gets government checks signed in triplicate.
Now, Norway's sovereign wealth fund voted against it, calling the package dangerous and out of control. But the rest of the board, they lined up to kiss the ring. $1 trillion reward for a man already worth $500 billion, while workers get laid off, unions get busted, and taxpayers still foot the subsidies that keep his empire afloat. This is the billionaire the world keeps worshiping. A man who shut off Starlink during combat operations, leaving allies stranded, then bragged about avoiding World War III. Villains used to run from tribunals. Now they run companies.
Now let's talk about Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince who U.S. intelligence concluded approved the operation where his own security services murdered and dismembered journalist Jamal Khashoggi. That isn't speculation, everyone. This is U.S. intelligence. They concluded that he approved the operation. The declassified report says the hit wouldn't have happened without his say-so.
And what did the so-called defenders of freedom do? Well, they didn't isolate him, they upgraded him. He gets golf leagues, comedy festivals, and now another White House red carpet moment this month. Sports washing on the weekend and statecraft on Monday.
And let's be specific here. Live Golf isn't some plucky startup. It's financed by Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund, the PIF. That's state money repackaged as entertainment. Billionaire golfers take the checks, the cameras roll, and the world is told to forget about where the money came from.
And it's not just the athletes. They've been buying comedians too. Riyadh's Laugh Diplomacy, the Saudi Comedy Festival, paid top comics hundreds of thousands of dollars to perform under strict censorships. No jokes about the regime, the royal family, or religion. Now, a few comics said no, but others took the money.
Comedian David Cross called it gross. Jessica Kirson performed, then publicly apologized and donated her fee to a human rights group. And Dave Chappelle? Well, he stood on the stage in Riyadh and said, "Well, this is easier to talk here than in America." You know what? That's not cultural exchange, that's propaganda with a punchline.
And it works, because every time a celebrity laughs on a Saudi stage or swings a club on a Saudi course, the regime buys another layer of legitimacy without changing a single law or freeing a single dissident.
And hey, we know it can be tempting. I did too. We were asked to show the beauty of Saudi Arabia on Instagram.
And you know what? We said no, because you don't whitewash a regime that dismembers journalists and jails activists, then expect a hashtag to make it humane.
Listen, we feel that travel and comedy can be barrier breakers, but doing it on a regime's dime to help them hide their atrocities, that's not art, that's advertising.
And yes, Canada actually stood up once as well. When we called out Saudi human rights abuses, they expelled our ambassador. So we paid the price for telling the truth.
Meanwhile, the same sovereign fund buying golf and comedy also buys influence in global sports and politics. FIFA deals, primetime TV slots, A-list events, because enough cash can make bloodstains look like branding.
And now, back to the red carpet. The Crown Prince is scheduled to meet Trump at the White House on November 18th. It's not a reckoning, it's a ribbon cutting. The timing tells you everything about who gets forgiven and who never mattered.
Here is the principle plain as day. When states reward brutality with business and celebrities turn atrocities into aesthetics, the price of silence is paid by the people who can't afford the photo op.
And we have to remember, a country isn't a regime. The Saudi people deserve better than a palace PR campaign. But taking state money to launder a government's image doesn't help the people, it helps the censors.
And before anyone accuses us of letting our own leaders off the hook, let's talk about Mark Carney, the man who built his brand on ethical capitalism and just spent weeks shaking hands with the same Saudi crown prince we just called out.
And let's be clear, this wasn't a moral summit, it was a trade summit. Energy security, Gulf investment, big infrastructure deals. The same playbook every Western leader uses. Talk about peace, sign a pipeline, and hope the headlines forget the rest.
Prime Minister Carney says it's about building stability. He met with the Crown Prince, with Xi Jinping, and with Qatar's Emir, all under the banner of peace. Meanwhile, Canada's trade with Saudi Arabia jumped 82% in a year.
But here's the problem. Canada didn't used to play this alone. For a century, our neighbor had our back. Now the world's superpower is handing out free passes to strongmen. So when we push back, we're pushing into a headwind.
And that's the dilemma. You either isolate yourself or hold your nose and shake the hand so you can say the hard thing in the room.
And yes, Carney's tried to frame it that way. Engagement with people we disagree with while pressing them on peace, hostages, and humanitarian access. Yes, Carney's better than Trump's performative handshakes, but the bar can't be not as bad. If Canada wants moral authority, it has to act like it. Otherwise, it's just another country doing deals in the dark and calling it leadership.
Sadly, all of these men don't just survive scandal, they profit from it. They fail upward because power protects itself. They aren't exceptions, they're the system made visible.
It's the same system that sells bombs to both sides, jails whistleblowers, and calls billionaires visionaries while millions starve. The same governments that claim to defend democracy are the ones arming dictators, silencing journalists, and subsidizing men who mock genocide survivors online.
Trump's state dinners, Charles's silence, Musk's subsidies, it's all the same script.
And just look at the pattern. A dictator cuts off free speech, and Silicon Valley calls it content moderation. A billionaire dodges taxes, and the media calls it entrepreneurship. A king rolls out a red carpet for a predator, and they call it diplomacy.
And while they all toast each other at summits and charity galas, the same corporations they own are deforesting the planet, deregulating safety, and privatizing the public good. Everything becomes a product, even morality.
Yep, the world feels broken right now. The monsters are rich, the decents are exhausted, and the truth feels optional. But here's the thing. The truth is still fighting back. It's not coming from palaces or boardrooms, it's coming from the people who refuse to shut up.
From journalists and creators calling it like it is, like Midas Touch, Adam Mockler, Charlie Angus, Guard the Leaf, House of L, Klaus Kellerman, Politics Girl, Raisher Gilmore, and so many more.
Reply to our first comment in the comments section with your favorite YouTuber working to spread the truth. We'll make a list of voices that need to be heard.
All these people are risking platforms, paychecks, and some even their safety to tell the story the powerful want buried.
Yeah, they don't have royal titles or billion-dollar contracts. They've got microphones, cameras, and enough guts to keep going when the trolls swarm and the threats roll in.
And that's the real resistance. It's not just a march or a headline. It's the daily choice to keep saying the quiet part out loud.
Because if monsters can build an empire on silence, imagine what happens when the rest of us start talking together.
And we're doing that every single day, and so are the other influencers that we mentioned. So if you're tired of watching the powerful worship each other while the rest of us pay the price, you're not alone.
Make sure to subscribe, share, and amplify the voices still telling the truth. Join the A-Team to help keep this channel independent, and check out our merch, because we're adding new designs weekly.
Stay loud, stay informed, and keep your head high, because truth doesn't need a crown to win. We're here to give you hope, and we're going to keep on doing it. See you next time, everyone.
Thanks for watching.